let's do something new. Today I want to talk about the PEMDAS of the pelvic floor. In math, we have a certain order of operations in which we're supposed to tackle a problem, right? And I want to apply that same framework to pelvic floor symptoms. But instead of please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we're going to go with PBUFSS. Your job is to give me the please excuse my dear Aunt Sally acronym in the comments. Let's talk about what each of these pieces actually mean. So the first P is pain. That needs to be our first priority over pretty much anything else, because if pain is present, that's going to disrupt everything else happening in the nervous system that supplies these other functions. B is for bowels, because if you're not pooping, that's affecting everything else down the chain. Your pelvis only has so much room for everything to coexist, and so let's say you're backed up full of shit, that's going to potentially put pressure on the bladder, which can contribute to more urgency, frequency, leakage, things like that. Brings us to U for urgency. So we want to address the sensation of urgency and being able to manage that before we address the frequency at which you're going, because you need to be able to kind of handle what happens when your nervous system gets really upregulated and you feel like you have to go. That's going to allow you to then extend that void interval longer, which then covers F for urinary frequency. Then and only then do we get to S for stress incontinence. So you're coughing, laughing, sneezing, jumping, running, all of those. We need to have all the things above it starting to be worked on before we get down to here. In the almost 9 years that I've been doing this, this is the order I tend to see things happening in. So if you have mixed incontinence, so a combination of leaking with urge as well as leaking with cough, laugh, sneeze, all of that, you want to address the urgency stuff first. Or if you're addressing both at the same time, you're going to see improvements here first. And finally, we get down to our second S, which is sexual function. Now, if you're having pain with sex, that's happening up here. Down here, this sexual function is more related to like erectile function in post-prostatectomy, getting to the big O regardless of what's in your pants, etc. Again, is PBUFSS going to be this rigid framework the same way that we use in math? No, there's always going to be wiggle room, but I think it's nice to have a framework so that you can see why your pelvic floor therapist is asking you about all these things that you may not have thought about, and also why things might be resolving faster than others. I'm still waiting on that acronym.